Before we start, I would like to ask your help to do two things. First, tell a friend or two who you think might like the show. And second, please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The more reviews the show gets, the more likely it will even appear in search results. Thank you, and now on to the show.
They make the trek out to Burning Man for a week and a day. After a lot of work, oh, there's a lot of play. Party, 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 drama, 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 bitch, bitch, bitch. Year after year, they come back to scratch that itch. They all say their lives have been changed. After many years, lives have been rearranged. That change is what this show is all about. You'll see the impact of Burning Man up and out. So sit back, relax, and cancel all your plans. These are the stories about the shadow of the man.
Hello, and welcome to the Shadow of the Man Show. I am your host, Andy. Can this be real? Yes, it's that Andy. Today, our guest is Mark Day. Welcome, Mark.
Oh, hey, it's you. And
it's the real Andy.
Let's go talk about Burning Man right now.
So, yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. I do have some listeners who've never been to Burning Man. I'm sure anyone who's been to Burning Man, who's been on social media, knows who Mark Day is and some of your amazing, animations and videos.
Sure. Yes and no. I mean, okay, so for context, I have been making and posting content, most videos about Burning Man.
How long have you been doing this?
Pretty much as well. So this is the thing. I had a video camera, and I've already let's try and explain it, then I'll explain how long. So I had a video camera. I bought a video camera in 1999. I first went to Burning Man in 1997. In 98, somebody came along with our group who made a German guy called Basti, who made a video of, a 3-minute fast edited set to psytrance. The one true music of Burning Man is psytrance. And when I saw it, months later, when he screened it in some apartment in someone's house, I had like goosebumps, and I was looking at it and I was thinking, that's what I want to do. So I made a video of the following year. And as I probably said on some other podcasts, Burning Man has a built-in story arc. There's like a preamble of going to Home Depot and or other big stores. No commodification, but that's where we went. And for a long time, that was the only time in my life that I'd ever been to a big hardware store was stuff for Burning Man. That is, in my head, you're going to a big hardware store, you're probably buying PVC pipes, Only later have I had to buy things for minor repairs around the house. I'm like, oh, wow, we're not any. But anyway, focus, Mark.
So story arc of Burning Man.
Right. Well, the story arc of Burning Man. So you've got the preamble of getting ready to go, and then you drive there. So you're on a journey, and things change along the journey. And if you're going for the first time, you might be like, oh, and you're a city kid like me, you'd be like, at the minute you see sort of scrubby countryside, you're like, oh, we're in the desert now. And then some of the vegetation disappears. You're like, oh, we're not really in the desert. Oh, this is more like the desert. And then you get there and you have to build a thing. And then if you're lucky, people enjoy the thing. And then you go home. So, there's an art. And so the very first video I made, came home, plugged it into a TV and just ran it straight off the camcorder. And it was at least to me, because I was, it was all triggering memories for me, but just felt like a perfect sort of, hour long time, I could call it a time capsule now. At the time, it didn't feel like a time, but it felt like basically it turned into going out. Um, there was a bit of an I sort of jokingly mentioned psytrance, but me and my
Uh-huh.
friends would go to a club in actually we also went to some mainstream clubs and saw DJs like Paul Oakenfold, if we're very honest. But we
Hmm.
would also go and see these like psytrance DJs and then come back to my buddy Ali's apartment, and then I would be like, "Who wants to go to Burning Man?" Which basically means let's put that video in again, and as we just slowly chill out, go on that journey. So that was really the first video was really for me and a couple of friends to kind of relive that arc over and over again. And then when YouTube came along,
But with that first video, was that just you? It was just straight you just recording stuff, or did you like actually edit it?
so I should have said that right. So there was no editing because it's straight out the camera. There is that sort of preamble, beginning, journey, road trip,
And you started
building
in
the
the beginning,
camp.
like you're in San Francisco or Bay Area or
Yeah, yeah,
wherever,
yeah. And
and
that, well, okay, so like I have weapons grade ADHD, so anything, introduce any new subject matter at your peril. But yes, I basically the video is in chronological order. Now, many years and many, many videos later, it has become a sort of elaborate metafiction for myself, and that's a
hmm.
pretentious way of saying it's full of in jokes that refer back to things I've said in previous videos, and or if I want to get pretentious about it, I'm still, if anything, more so coming to terms with the fact that although I have in a lot of ways restructured the video around personal editing choices.
Hmm.
A big choice being that these days, in the world of video in general, in the commercial world of video or online video, people would say you have to hook them in. So you pretty much have to drop them off in the middle of Burning Man. And that's why my videos are now structured like they start at Burning Man. They start with an opening sequence that has a lot of eye candy that sort of says, if you stick around, you'll see some of this stuff. Um, and they're sort of like experientially dropping you straight into the experience. But I've always loved the journey.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the the moment that I realized I could just play with the conventions of filmmaking, man, and smash cut to 20 minutes in, actually, let's go back to the beginning. That's a narrative device that I use.
So you'll start with like some playa, like meltdown or whatever, then some crazy thing, and then it'll be like 72 hours earlier.
I mean,
like,
not quite, yes and
like, should we
no.
get the large cheesecake or not?
Pretty much. Well, it's more. I mean, I think I'm kind of talking around a lot of the more interesting questions for me, but
Sure.
they may not be as interesting. So just to back up a little bit. So I've been making these long form videos since before there even was a YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, when YouTube came along, I was dabbling in doing like open mic stand-up comedy in a laundromat in San Francisco. And when online video came along, there was the moment where I was like, wait a minute, I could wait in line behind 30 other people for 2 minutes standing on a stage to while people did their laundry, or I could just record myself saying the same things, edit them up a little bit, throw them up on YouTube. And in the early days of YouTube, anybody with limited inhibitions and strong opinions um, could both post video. It was easier to be found. It was easier to be discovered, or
Hmm.
discoverability
Hmm.
was there. So I was making like, the same kind of video content that people were doing when people were figuring out what the format was. That face close to the camera, rapid edits, strong opinions about something. And the Burning Man stuff was kind of separate, and it took a while before I even posted some of it. Um, but I eventually started integrating the two, and then over a long period, I was making these long form videos at a time probably nobody else really was. So they were again, because these videos are awesome. And I should point, okay, let's go step. Good luck editing this. That's all I can say. Um, or deciding to throw it all out and start again. Whatever works. So in 2011 I went through the other arc. So there's the arc of the journey to Burning Man, there's the
Okay.
leaving your house and driving there and going through Reno and all of these things. And I would also say, because I'm not from here, and America is something that I originally experienced through the medium of television and movies. There is a little bit of a romanticism about some aspects of being here that I really enjoy. It's all anytime I'm ever in LA, for example, I'm always like, it always feels slightly more like, oh, wait a minute, you're in another country. How weird and fun and cool is that? Whereas if I'm in the Bay Area in San Francisco, it's less in my face because I'm here all the time. But anyway, so one point, waffle, you can cut all of that. Um, our original camp was called Magic Glasses Camp. It ran from 1999 to about 2003. And then it kind of, I don't want to say, it ran its course. And this is in the pre-internet era in a way. Now, even then, I guess there was somebody who would be like, "Hey, I have this packing list, and it's the only, you must bring all the things of the packing list. And, if you don't have the right kind of rubbing alcohol to go with that particular tweezers, God knows what will happen if you stand on a splinter because no, whatever." Um, and, generic advice like don't divorce your parakeet or whatever. But like it, the whole notion of running a camp would still probably be kind of a lot less complex than what somebody on a Facebook theme camp organizing mailing list or whatever would
Yeah.
experience today. There was no real,
People take it so seriously nowadays.
well, I
Like,
mean, and I'm glad they do.
well, I mean, you're
I'm
going to the
glad, well,
desert,
but
you
I
got
mean,
to have some level of seriousness, but I mean,
it was a little bit less codified, and
mhm. Well, also,
there's
don't you think like with more experience, like if you've been a couple of times, you're kind of like, okay, like I could do this on a short term notice. Someone's like, hey, let's go to Burning Man right now. Like, go to your
well,
garage
okay,
and
so we're
throw
getting
things
to
in.
that,
Like,
right?
yeah,
So as I was sort of meandering around, there was no process for if your camp has sort of hit maximum number of members and maybe strayed a little bit beyond that, and the kind of cohesion is starting to kind of bifurcate into two different or more different little clusters of interest.
hmm,
What do you do? And I don't know that any, who owns the infrastructure, whose house is it sitting underneath in some crawl space, and you know who's responsible for moving that if they don't want it there anymore, and all of that. I don't know that we really had a playbook for that back then. So whatever. The point is, I did take a break. I think 2004, I didn't go back. 2000, maybe it was 3 years. Then I went back in 2000. I don't, it's a little hate. The dates don't matter as much
nah,
as
yeah.
I went in 2011. I camped with Christopher Shards, Christopher who does the Mariposa and the giant spinning light wheel of classical music that comes down that I'm blanking on the name of it now. Long time Burning Man artist. At the time, he was still working in uh, rocket fuel and tethered sort of immersive rocket experiences. He did something called the Garden of Rockets. And then the Char Wash, where you would go inside this kind of penned off area and these like propane, I don't know what they were for. Anyway, camped with his guys.
Hmm.
Um, and at that point, one other thing that happened is we had kids, and then we had a second kid, and that's exponential. That's not two times one kid, that's exponentially more kids. It was a lot of work. And I wasn't supposed to go in 2012. I feel I've told this story a bunch of times. I'll try and speed run it. I was in an office working at a sort of online video company. I had a big monitor on my desk. I was looking at the live stream and it was just video. At that point, you know, a tethered video camera occasionally pointed in a slightly different direction.
Hmm.
But a coworker was like, Mark, what you doing? And the event had already
Yeah.
started. And you
I'm
could
hard at
see,
work. What do you look like I'm doing?
well, wait, and I was sort of going, right, okay, see that over there? Like there's just a person, that's a video of a person walking on the open playa. Maybe they're walking back from the temple to the esplanade, or maybe they're walking back from the man. It doesn't matter. What matters is like I have such a sense memory
Hmm.
of the experience of being at Burning Man that just watching that,
Oh yeah.
I can teleport myself almost through my brain into that person's shoes.
You can smell it, right? Yeah.
You can smell right. And
Yeah.
then this guy, Zach, goes, oh, interesting, because it looks to me like you're torturing yourself. And I was like, yes. So without getting into too much of the details, I decided to go on a whim.
Right then.
You right, kind of. I mean, I was working at a tech company. There was an internal mailing list of burners at. Um, and I thought if I can get a ticket, I could, because I had that mindset of it's not that far away. You could totally go.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's a slight oversimplification, but
Well, that, yeah.
it's
Well, those it
certainly
for those it sold out. Those the first couple years it sold out, right? So
right. So there
getting a
was an
ticket might be a little
additional
hard.
layer of can I get a ticket? And the entire ticket economy at that time was an awful lot of people posting on like Craigslist, and then some guy who would be able to pay for the ticket, but first he had to drive down to Santa Cruz because somebody owed him $20 for pizza. And the entire economy of Santa Cruz, much like Hawaii, I'm sure, runs on the notion that everybody owes everybody else $20 for pizza and or pot. And if somebody defaults on that, the entire economy collapses.
Yeah.
And I just at the time realized that the fastest path to cut through this was I will pay full price for your ticket, because it was a little bit of everybody trying to get, trying even at the sellout time to try and get people, people were like trying to pay below face value. And I was just like, I just need a ticket. I don't need a side quest to Santa Cruz. I just
I'll pay the extra $20 for the weed, whatever. Like, yeah.
whatever. Well,
Yeah.
it was just like, yeah, I was just, I'm not looking to make anybody feel like they had taken a loss on the ticket. I
And you
was
didn't
just
feel
like,
like someone was going to try and like take advantage of you or like, oh, I'll just take your money and not you.
absolutely, that's exactly what happened.
What?
I drove, it was only on the way there that I registered that the guy who had sold me the ticket had a gift ticket and it said gift ticket on the ticket. And the drive up there, I'm like, if I get there and the guy scans the ticket and goes, oh, are you part of so and so's crew? They're all in. I don't know. I was just like, oh, I hope I'm not fucked. but I got in. So I basically told my wife I was going for a day,
A
and
day.
a day, as in, if I left now, I could be up there. And once I got there, I decided I was going to try and leave 24 hours after I arrived because that made it a project rather than just circumstance. I'm just here for a day. And interestingly to me, there's a guy who John, I forget his last name. I don't think he doesn't work for Burning Man anymore, but he was part of the communications team for a while. He did a blog post. He was there the same day that I was there, and he spent 24 hours at the temple and blogged about it.
Oh,
Uh, it's really interesting. If you can find that online, it's really, I think it was just really cool because he just basically focused on a single thing for 24 hours. And
yeah.
even though I absolutely do the opposite, which is to make the most comprehensive piece of documentation I can, some of my favorite documentation is just taking one moment in time um, and documenting that. There are two examples I can give you of that. One is, I think you can find it on Vimeo. It's about the Trojan horse. And most of this 20-minute documentary is really just about, can you move the Trojan horse 300 feet or whatever without it rolling over and squishing people? There's a band there and they're waiting. Spoiler alert. They're like, we have a wedding to play at. Are you moving? It's the classic Burning Man thing of a perfect moment of, they've got volunteers waiting to do a thing, but they're not sure if they can do it. The band are like, we're here to play for you while you do this, but if you don't do it soon, we have to leave. All of that. And yeah, that's a fun video because it's more like just a moment in time. And this guy, John, went to the temple, spent 24 hours there, and asked what and it was a particularly dusty dust storm because I remember wandering around that night thinking, stop looking for the party, Mark. Go back to your tent and sleep because anytime you're spending wandering around in a dust storm with no real purpose is just time you're taking away from yourself tomorrow. So, and it was, so it was an interesting project, and bizarrely, somebody was doing something similar at the same time.
Yeah. But you also only had 24 hours there. Well, seemingly, right?
So,
Like, so you could be like, well, I'll
so
go to sleep. And it was like, you're wasting time.
Well, I mean, so part of the point was for me, one of the reasons that I wanted to leave 24 hours after I arrived is I've had the experience of driving in a rental truck, driving home from Burning Man in the dark, and like there's a cow on the road or whatever,
Hmm.
out near whatever, Nixon or whatever. Or just the exhaustion of knowing that you have 2 more hours to drive and you're worried that you're going to fall asleep at the wheel. So
Yeah.
one of the reasons for trying to leave at a specific time was to not tempt myself to stay for another 2 hours and another 2 hours and another 2 hours. And my wife's wondering where I'm gone, and then I'm trying to drive home. So it was like, it was common sense wrapped in the wrapper of experiential project. Hence, the name of the video for that year was 24 Hours at Burning Man, and I just stuck with the title. And then last year, one of the things I've been doing, which is, and we really need to back up, maybe you need to stick this at the start. So basically, since 2012, I've published a feature-length video every year um, about my experience at Burning Man under the name 24 Hours at Burning Man. When they started out, it was really just an extension of the kind of videos I've made in the past. I just happened to call it 24 Hours at Burning Man because over the next couple of years, like 2013, 2014, I started embedding myself with a project and or just interviewing artists and participants. Because the early ones, it's mostly just me just being at Burning Man. And then um, my sort of second era of going to Burning Man was after the first era was the Magic Glasses Camp, which lasted, 99 through about 2003.
I actually remember that. Yeah, it was like you
A
had
lot of
like,
people do.
well,
So basically, Magic Glasses Camp was a light tunnel on the Esplanade made of PVC pipes, camo
yeah,
netting, and Christmas tree lights,
Christmas tree lights. Yeah, and then you had
and
like the
a
polarized
generator about
glasses,
the
right?
size of a microwave oven, if not smaller. And that was boys and girls at home, hot shit.
That was
That
like, I know, I
was,
remember that
there
was like
was
one
a
of the most
line of
exciting things on the
people.
playa. Yeah,
There
yeah.
was that was what it took to get on the Esplanade at Burning Man, and we had a line of people outside every single night. We had a big box of light diffracting glasses, so when you went into this tunnel, the light is split out into the spectrum, and
Well, I remember that because like I remember walking by and people were just like, "What's the big deal? It's just a bunch of Christmas lights." Just the light, and then
right,
they're like, "No,
it
no, you got to
was
wear the glasses." And then like people looking at it, like just Christmas lights, and they put the glasses on. You're like,
right,
"Oh," and
and
especially if people are like on some sort of hallucinogen. They're just like, "Oh
this is
man,
it.
this
Yeah,
is the best thing
absolutely. It
ever."
was. It was a very early iteration, who knows, arguably the first of a full-on tripper trap. That was, and it sort of grew out of, I mean, the glasses we used to take to, we used to go to psytrance raves and stuff and wear these glasses on the dance floor. Um, and it was very basic, it was just very basic stuff. It wasn't like, you know, it was the Mayan warriors' tail light budget went
Well,
into
that was like
making
back
this.
in the day. It's like that was sort of like early man. There was a lot of like what do people call obtainium, or people would just
Right,
find found objects and then just make the most crazy things from
right.
them. Like now it's like, oh, I'm gonna have something fabricated in China and shipped over
Right. I mean,
here.
it was a different time. So
Yeah,
I so the second era for me of Burning Man was going as part of a kind of regional group called East Bay Burners.
okay,
And
yeah,
East does do East Bay Burn. I mean, it was around the time around, I guess, whatever, 2011, 12, whatever. Burning Man for about 3 years, I think, maybe four, had a program called the Circle of Regional Effigies, which was a series of.
I actually started that.
You did? Well, there you go. Well,
I
you
kind of
don't.
I was the one who kind of like thought up the idea, assembled all the gunpowder, like lit the
Right.
fuse, and then I stepped back and was like, "Okay, you guys enjoy."
Well,
And then like,
I'm glad you did because I participated in it and
oh,
that.
so how did you participate in it? Would
So again, how are we doing for time here?
don't
Waffle.
worry about it. I'm keeping an eye on it. Yeah.
Sure. So I know at some point I'm supposed to go to a picnic. That's the only.
Oh, okay.
So the Circle of Regional Effigies, as you would know, it was a circle of wooden burnable. This is, if people are going like, oh man, not enough artwork on fire at Burning Man anymore. This was a peak of, there were a circle of what I don't even know how many, was it
It was like
20,
20 something. Yeah.
20 or something,
Yeah.
not in a circle around the man so much as in, I think, four sort of mini clusters.
Well, the first year, 2011, I think it
Right.
was this giant circle around the
Right. And
man.
then I don't know if
Yeah.
it was for like fire safety or whatever, but they were I seem to remember them being like slightly clustered together in sort of four. I don't
Uh,
remember. That's less important.
uh,
And they all were on the same sort of size of, they all had the same playa footprint basically. They were all of a similar size and shape. And I think, the first year, um, which I did not participate in, was very, in some ways quite literal. It's like, here's a Burning Man regional group from Maine, and they built a lobster pot.
Yeah.
The East Bay ones built the Oakland port cranes or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and over time they evolved, I guess, into um, more diverse and interesting stuff. And some of it was again, some of it was quite literal, some of it was a bit more abstract, whatevs. And I got involved in that through, at the time, possibly Stephen Raspa involved, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They were the Burning Man organization had a film crew who had gone and interviewed people making these effigies and created a media kit so that you could then create a little video for your regional area and have some pre-recorded B-roll footage of Stephen Raspa talking about community or whatever that you could then punch in, and then maybe you would have a video that you could
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
show to people to show them what your project was about. Now, classically, what had happened is, the fun stuff is filming that, editing it. Is editing fun really for anybody? No. And I volunteer. They were looking for people to volunteer to actually finish this stuff off. So I got a load of footage from it was a group in Montreal who had their regional effigy was an effigy of portage, which, as I understand it, is a Canadian and possibly French Canadian practice of, as you are like a fur trapper, or I guess it comes from fur trappers, but like when you're kind of traversing conditions where there's both canoeing and then you might have to carry your canoe from one tributary to another and you carry it over
Yeah.
your head, and that is to portage a canoe, as I
Okay.
learned. And I edited that together, and then I was like, if I want to do this again, it would be fun. It was fun tracking down what they had and did they have some footage they filmed themselves and all of that. And then I decided if I was going to do it again, I would embed myself with a local group, which is what I did. So I thought, I was showing up at a place called NIMBY, which no longer exists, but it's one of those sort of industrial Oakland art building spaces of the time. At the time, like the Air Pusher art car was there and various projects were built there. That was where the Trojan horse was built. Once the Circle of Regional Effigies thing ran its course, some of the same people worked on the Alien Siege Machine, which was effectively a sort of reskinning of the basic learnings from the Trojan horse with none of the hassle of having to roll it from point A to point B. It was a sort of H.R. Geiger's version of that.
Huh.
And I documented that. The following year, some of those people were involved in aspects of the temple, so I was there for that. And all through this, the videos that I'm making are getting a little bit more elaborate or self-referential, or I'm doing what, for want of a better word, could be like catchphrases.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, fast forward to now, I'm basically sitting on 10 hours of footage from last year. I'm shitting my pants as to how I'm ever going to edit it. I think for a while, the videos that was making really kind of hit the YouTube algorithm. So if you were searching for YouTube, you were searching for Burning Man at YouTube, it was surfacing a lot of my videos. So I think a lot of people saw them. Um, and, you know, I, as much, and they're a sort of weird combination of things I do for my own amusement and things I do with this constant sense that someone else is along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of me talking directly to camera and, you know, if, at my worst, I'm like, why in God's name am I doing this? It's taking forever. Um, but I will run into people who are at Burning Man for the first time, and for them, it's like they have a friend there that they just, they have a parasocial relationship with a guy they've watched on TV. Or, I mean, honestly, like my favorite sort of expressions of this are either I'll be wandering along and somebody, and I can absolutely walk from point A to point B at Burning Man and be like, wait a minute, nobody's recognizing me. This sucks. I need more. I need to have a look that makes me instantly recognizable. But yes, I quite enjoy running into groups of people where somebody is quite excited to see me because they've seen me on the internet, and the other two people have no fucking idea what they're on about. And I just quite like to watch person one have to explain to the other ones what I am while I watch. That's one of my favorites. Yeah, yeah. Talk me up. Tell them I'm really, yeah. He's amazing. I'm like, thank you. Keep going, keep going. Is that it? Or
He's
and that's
famous. I
sort
don't know
of
who he is. No, he's
that's
famous. No.
fun because it is all of it gets to play with the whole notion of the whole thing.
Yeah.
But there's also I'll be wandering past and go, oh, somebody will go, oh my God, there's somebody I want you to meet. And I'll be like, okay. And they'll walk me back to their cab, and then they'll go, this is my dad. He didn't want to go. And it's taken me a couple of years to persuade him to go. And he thought it was going to be one thing. And then I showed him some of your videos, and he felt either that he could relate to some aspects of it, or he understood it wasn't all one thing, and all of that. And I would say, although ironically, the reach that my videos get, I think, is definitely on the downslope algorithmically. And I'm also just more,
Really?
the way people consume video content changes over time, and it's now all short vertical type things, and I'm absolutely embracing that. I do take that responsibility somewhat seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I do enjoy it, and it is one of the things, for better or worse, that keeps me making them, is being that sort of on ramp into Burning Man culture for people who might otherwise think it not welcoming to them, or just not quite what they could, you know. I think one of the
Yeah, well, I think also nowadays with like the modern world and social media and stuff, like, cause like your first year was 97, my first year was 96. And like back
right,
then, it's like living in the Bay Area was just kind of like word of mouth and stuff. And I
right,
mean, maybe the beginnings of the internet, you could find some like HTML pages and read some stuff. But I think it's like how people, especially younger people now, consume things. It's like TikTok or stories,
right.
or like,
And
just like these short little videos. And then maybe something will spark some interest. Maybe they'll go to
well,
YouTube and watch something a little bit longer, right?
right.
Like,
I mean, so this is the thing. Unlike I I'm in the weird sort of place in the world where I am not affiliated with the Burning Man organization.
hmm
I am not a spokesperson for the Burning Man organization. I am certainly not a shill for the Burning Man organization.
you don't get paid.
I don't get paid. I don't get a ticket from them. Um, I register my project with Media Mecca every year, and
hmm
I consciously try and stay on, the right side of what is expected of people who document.
hmm
I also, I'm so waffling that I've forgotten where I was going with this. I know I have a very pragmatic approach to how I feel about Burning Man and how modern social media works. So
Hmm.
when people are losing their minds over the fact that the Burning Man organization posted a video on TikTok that seemed more like
Commercial or
a
something.
commercial than, I'm like, or you just cede that space to other people. And you have to some degree, meet people where they are.
Hmm.
And some people would say that the opposite is true of Burning Man, that Burning Man asks you to go somewhere that might be outside your comfort zone and see how that feels.
Hmm.
With that said, the biggest game changing thing in my life, which I now talk about all the time and seems very trite, which I learned from my teenage daughter, and I thank her for so much, is the most basic thing possible. Several things can be true at the same time. Many things can be true at the same
Oh, of
time.
course.
And I will say that, and this comes from my sample set, which is slightly skewed to people who are excited to see me at Burning Man, but I also do, and one of my favorite things to do at Burning Man is a back-to-back double shift at gate, I mean, at the greeter station on the first day of the event being open to people who do not have early entry access. In other
Hmm.
words, when Gen Pop shows up, and
Hmm.
that's fascinating and that's so much fun.
When the gates are open, then the race is on, and it's like, huzzah!
Well, it's people who have traveled. So I do it. I do the sunrise shift. I'm not standing there in the dark. I want people. um, and it's 8 hours of individual sociology projects because every car is its own little, they're all the same and they're all different. It's a group of people, often one person has been before and the others haven't, and they're on the cusp of something. And I don't give a shit about whether they ring the bell or not. That's for them if they want to ring the bell. It's too loud, and I walk away before that happens. And I like pairing off with somebody who gets my sense of humor. I know that the whole rolling in the dust thing is fun, and I where I was waffling around is about trying not to. I'm a very judgy person, but
Hmm.
when it comes to someone wants to take pictures rolling around in the dust, I'm like, absolutely, you should do that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I will always say when people are like, because we also have a photo booth in camp, and when people walk past, and I'm like, I've got a megaphone and I'm standing out front, I'm never going to twist somebody's arm to do it. But if I run into people where someone's like, oh, I don't take pictures, I'm a little bit like, okay, but your friend seems to want to, just do it for them. And you're not doing it for them when you get home, you're doing it for them 10 years from now. Because if somebody handed you a roll of old-fashioned film and said, these pictures are you at Burning Man 20 years ago.
Oh,
Do
wow.
you want us
Yeah.
to develop the film or do you want us to burn the film? I think most people would say develop the film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I don't
So,
know. Maybe I don't look right. Like,
well,
no, I
it's
don't think so. I think
well,
everyone would
there's
want to
there's
see that. Yeah.
multiple versions of that, but
Yeah.
there's also the version that's like, I prefer to have my memories, and I'm like, I'm a middle-aged
Eh.
man who stands in front of the fridge a lot of the time, wondering why I'm standing in front of the fridge.
It's like knew I was
As
here for a
memorable as
reason.
all of this shit is, if somebody handed me a roll of film and said, "There's 20 pictures you've not seen of you 20 years ago at Burning Man. What do you want
Hmm.
us to do?" That's the choice that you could make.
Yeah.
Um,
So when
so
you're
where I was going with the whole
the
greeter
greeters,
station thing
yeah.
is the one thing that I will do is I have a great big fucking wooden stick and I will draw a line in the sand or the dust, proper
Oh.
zone trip style, and ask people to consciously and with intention. I'm a guy from Scotland. The fact that I am saying to people, would you like to set an intention now is both absurd and glorious. Um, so through this experience, and I know it takes me forever to get to the point, what I was going to say is there are people who will say, oh, influencers are just making the whole thing, so it's just a series of photo shoots for people or whatever. I have also talked to people, plenty of people, for whom the idea of going to Burning Man at all seems impossibly intimidating, or something they had to work up to, or
Hmm.
something they didn't feel they were not ready for, or they didn't feel they were ready for yet, or they were worried people. One of the most inspiring and powerful female artists I know told me that when she came to Burning Man, she was absolutely terrified that somebody would interrogate her about the principles. And that's exactly what happened. And so, both of those things can be true. And I think that all of you might have to work harder for it, but I think most or all of what makes Burning Man a fun and transformative experience is still there.
Oh yeah.
Um, and in terms of you can get your information from all these different places, honestly, some of those places are actively pushing people away. And some of the people who think they're doing people a solid by making it like, until you pass the troll bridge and answer these three questions, I cannot help you on your quest. That just annoys me. And I'm just basically, you know, I'm,
Well, I
I'm
think when it,
very against gatekeeping. That's my
yeah,
thing. And I
exactly.
think some aspect, and I also believe that, guess what, the world is very different to how there is this talk, and I've seen this talked about online, about the generational cliff that Burning Man faces,
Hmm.
in that there seem to be a lot of people online who are like, I would be happy for it to go back to the way it was, and I just don't know if it is logistically and or philosophically possible for an organization to course shift. And I don't even think it's course correction, but like just essentially steward the well, I mean, on some level they may have to, but like steward the downsizing of what a thing is.
Hmm.
And if that is the case, as in, I hate to tell you this, but in order for Burning Man to move forward, it still requires the shifting of X amount of tickets, because they can't just go, we'll just get, less porta potty. I'm not an infrastructure guy, so I don't know how that would play out. But I do think that there is a version of Burning Man where accommodations may have to be made to the fact that the people showing up are not welders from Oakland in, or, artists from Oakland 30 years ago who had access to welding tools and fuck it, let's weld something. And if somebody gets hurt, it's not that anybody would do that, but like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Well, like the
if
infrastructure
it
and having
feels
like the
less safe.
warehouses and the volunteers and everything, and then it's
Yeah,
like close in Oakland. Like, I mean, yeah, now you have people coming from all over the United States, all over the world. Like people
right.
are traveling from far away. It's like, can you get a box truck to go from Estonia?
Right. Well, also, and I think everything that people complain about online in terms of the value of the hardship, in a way, the
Hmm.
weather's taking care of that anyway.
Yeah.
The weather's doing everything in its
But
power.
I gotta tell you something. Like, so I took about 13 years off, right? And so between
Right.
2011 and 2024 is like when I went back, and then people always ask me like, "Oh, what's different?" And like, "Oh, there's like slight differences here and there." But like, honestly, the core, the basics of it is still the same. You know, it's
Well,
just like, yeah,
that's
it's a lot bigger, but I think it's like kind of what you're talking about. Like the same kind of magic is still there. It's like maybe the makeup of people is a little bit different. You know, maybe yes, there's more
yeah.
like
I
influencers and this and that. You know, but yeah, but also I'm just very fascinated by like what you were talking about. Like you just struck a chord talking about like the whole generational like differences because definitely the founders and the people who started this, the people who've been doing this for like 30, 40 years. It's like, oh, they're like in their 60s and 70s now.
right.
Like, and I think some people like actively want to be like, hand over the reins to other people. But, it's like, yeah, I guess just this kind of this question, just like, well, who are you handing over the reins to?
I
And then
mean,
yeah,
I
look at social media and like what people are talking about, and it's just like, oh, it's just a big party. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm doing this whole show because I'm like, if this was all just a big party, like, would this still be around? Like, would anybody like spend like this as like their life's work to
well,
do
I
like,
mean,
oh, just a party?
I think that's, that is a big, very valid, very interesting question. Um, and as recently as in the past couple of weeks, I was talking to somebody who I just sort of assumed was always going to be there. And they were saying, actually, last year, I maybe feel like I've done this enough. It's like it's very difficult for me as a person who went there for 24 hours once on the feeling that, as you were saying yourself, there's a there's a something about being there that is you just need to it's like the Pope getting off an airplane and kissing the tarmac. I knew that if I just went there for a day, it would just be there. It would be like, it's like I went to college in Edinburgh, and the Edinburgh Festival in Scotland just has it's a city-wide, densely, every closet and cupboard is turned into a theater for,
Hmm.
literally, theater shows that can only accommodate a two-person audience type stuff. And when you're in Edinburgh, there's just a magic to that. And I think there's just a magic to being on the playa while Burning Man is taking place.
Yeah.
And my sister went in 1999 from Scotland and
Oh.
came back 2024. And I had to say to her, it's going to be exactly what you remember and completely different. And so she had that break thing, and she's like, I don't like the noise at night. It's too much. I'd rather do things during the day now.
Oh
But
yeah.
she absolutely, that was the year Michael Garlington built that big temple type thing. I forget the name of it, but it was a temple-esque thing covered in his artwork. She absolutely fell in love with that. And part of his art is to give away pieces from it. It was burned, but she took some of it home and is now in her house in Scotland. So, I unfortunately that was the year that rained at the end, and I think all the talk of next year evaporated as the weather got worse and worse. Um, but yeah,
But also, I can totally relate to that experience too, because like when I came back after 13 years, like, well, I was also I'm older, and so I put more of a premium on this when I came back. When I was younger, it's like, oh, we'd stay up all night and we'd be drinking and partying. And now when I come back as a little older, I'm like, I'm gonna get some sleep and have a good
right.
night's sleep, and then wake up in the morning and have a wonderful day. And it just completely transformed my experience. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still the kind of person when I glance at my watch and I'm like, it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm like, okay, you can give yourself maybe another half hour. Then when you look up and I don't, I think last year I did not pull a single all-nighter. I think at best I've got maybe one in me a year, and
Hmm.
even that probably less so. Where I kind of started off, and maybe where I need to wrap this up, and I'm more than happy to do more of this over later in
Do
the
you have to get
weekend or
going
whatever.
soon?
Yeah, just because
All right.
um, I'm actually hoping to see some people from my camp who I've not seen in a long time.
Okay.
Quite looking forward to seeing some
Well,
people who are.
well,
But
just one.
what I was just going to say is that, like, in a weird sort of way, I'm making the same video every year,
Hmm.
intentionally, almost like there's a checklist there of things that I do, but the more I do them, it feels more like if I want to get pretentious about it, it's like I'm basically, I wouldn't go as far as to say it's like a meditation, but it is a pilgrimage and a ritual, and I feel like I'm cutting the same shape through water as maybe I'm like a salmon. I'm going back there to respawn, but it's like one of those things where, like, how do birds know how to migrate from point A to point B? Um, and with the realization that, I don't know how many more of these there are left for me
Hmm.
to do it in the same way. At the moment, I am trying to put less energy into the long form video, in part because I understand, the people are now consuming a lot of more of this short form. I like to have it there, but I'm trying to tell myself that, there's stuff that goes into it that is really just there for my amusement. And I'm like, could you maybe just do a little bit less of that? Like the
Mm.
last video from 20, so the last one that's online is from 2024,
Okay.
because 2025 was last year and I've
Yeah.
just started editing it. I absolutely ran out of time and I absolutely gave myself another week. And yet at the same time, I'm putting stupid little captions and footnotes in for my own amusement as I'm trying to get to the final edit. So yeah, I'm like anybody of my, there is the part of me that's like, how do you right size, not downsize, but right size your own commitment to this thing, and also want to see other people come in and pick up the baton.
Yeah.
I think a clear, I think a clear example of that is, and I think this is kind of, I haven't read all of the Burning Man organization,
Hmm.
jackrabbits closely, but I think generationally, when people think about Burning Man, a big part of what they think about is joining a camp.
Hmm.
And that creates a myriad of problems from theme camp organizers who are now on some level navigating the fact that they built a camp infrastructure for a 40-person camp, and then suddenly they're down to a 25-person camp. And can they downsize the infrastructure, or are they left bringing in 15 people they don't know? And that generates additional
Yeah.
expectations. Um, and we all, we, the overly online, the overly engaged, the people who spend more time than the average person thinking about Burning Man, probably have opinions about um, whether you call them plug and play camps or convenience camps or that kind of thing. I think this is a slightly different thing. I think this is an even people who, and I think there's nothing like, I think there's nothing wrong with describing Burning Man as a bucket list experience. I've
Hmm.
missed out on a lot of bucket list experiences by going to Burning Man every year. So if somebody has if someone's life journey is to experience a lot of different things, and Burning Man is one of them, yes, that's part of the mix. That's part of the melting pot. That's part of the milieu, and that's fine.
Hmm.
I think, you know, people online going, form your own camp, camp on your own, all of those things. It's like there's merit and truth and all of that to that as well, but I don't know that that addresses the situation either. So
Yeah.
there are all of these weird cultural things
Hmm.
all happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Um, a thing that I feel quite strongly about, that's relatively recent is, um, the DMV sent out some kind of 2-year consultancy period on the future of mutant vehicles at Burning Man. You can find this online. I think it might even be on the Burning Man
Hmm.
blog. And some of the things they're looking at are, you know, trying to continue a world of minimal rules, but also recognizing whether it's like, to use one example, they're basically saying, please do not send us AI generated images as explanations of what your mutant vehicle will look like, because we understand, because you're not addressing safety issues or practicality or even but another, there it's like noise and
Well, I think what they're talking about is like they want to reduce the bureaucracy
well,
or
the thing
something,
is, they
right?
want to reduce the bureaucracy, and at the same
But at the
time,
same time, it's like when things get so big and large, it's like it's kind of like what happened in 1996. Like before that, it was just kind of like a bunch of people going out to the desert, and then
right,
it's like it got so big that was like the Bureau of Land Management and liability and in government relations, this and that. It's like you have to kind of start
right.
bureaucratizing. But then once you reach like 80,000 people, I mean,
Well, so this
it's
is the
like,
thing.
yeah.
I get the sense, and this is purely speculative,
Mm,
that the kind of people, sorry, I apologize, people who are both resourced, inclined, and on ramping via larger international camps, shall we
hmm.
say. The expectation when joining those camps is it comes with a mutant vehicle. And
Ah.
then one of the reasons I think you have so many of these, we're doing a tie up between this car and this car and this car and this car, is there were some fucking expensive looking pieces of kit out there last year that could barely pull a crowd. It's like we now have more billionaire rave barges than there are people to stand in front of them.
Yeah.
And to some extent, I,
Rave barges. I like
in my
that.
pragmatic me feels like that's part of the landscape now, and I don't know to what degree you can back away from that. I did think a couple of years ago that, oh, this whole sunset session thing where at sunset you can see Mayan Warrior or Robot Heart or whomever in the inner playa was kind of cool, because I'm not like yourself, I'm not pulling all-nighters. I don't want to be at the trash fence at 6 in the morning, but I do understand that it's a unique to Burning Man experience to see something that cost a shit ton of money, that has a sound system that's tuned the way someone would tune a Formula One race car at close quarters in a way that's convenient for me.
Hmm.
And last year, when I was out there, my opinion on that changed quite a lot. And I think that my feedback to the DMV, and I don't even think this is a DMV issue per se, is that I was cycling around with somebody last year, and we found a piece of inner plat, and you're cycling along and you see a little bit of moop on
Hmm.
on the playa, and you think to yourself, nobody's looking, I'll just keep going. No, you don't. You think, come on, Mark, you're not so big that you can't get down. You see a fucking, if you're cycling along the playa and you see a zip tie, I think most burners of a certain age would
Oh,
stop the bike and
of
pick the
course.
fucking zip tie up. But
Yeah.
that's what you do. Because collectively, you can, if you're not doing that, it just accumulates. And I say that as a man who wore. Nobody told me in 1999 through 2003 that feather boas were moopy as far as I can remember. I have
The memo came
contributed
later. Yeah,
I have contributed to the trash at the trash fence unwittingly, I'm sure.
yeah.
We hit an area of the of the open inner playa that was covered in cigarette butts and other ephemera like earrings and stuff like that. And it took a minute to realize, oh, this will be where last night's sunset session took place.
Ah.
And I was out on a couple of nights later. I went out to enjoy the sunset and I cycled out with some people who parked themselves in front of the Mayan Warrior. And I was just a little bit like, this is fun for 10 minutes, but like, I'm not spending an entire sunset and hour of golden hour facing this one thing. Opportunity cost too great.
Yeah.
And when I came back and it was over and I went back to get my bike and see if those people were still there, the obvious thing was happening, which was that the crowd was completely scattering because you've come out from camp in your Tulum hat to see a sunset session. And the minute it's over, you're getting back on your e-bike to whiz back to wherever you came from to get ready to go out for the rest of the night.
Hmm.
That's not everybody, but it was evidently, it's become a codified thing. Oh, we're going out for the sunset session, then we're coming back here to get ready, then we're going back out again. And honestly, some guy on the mic, whether it's Mayan Warrior or Robot Heart or Long Feng Art Car or whomever else, and I'm just naming them because they're names that people know, one guy on the mic going, hey guys, please, let's keep this thing a viable thing. Please pick up Moop
Hmm.
before you leave, is borderline fucking worthless. And
Really?
I feel quite strongly about that. I feel like if you have the resources to fly a piano on a lift in the air for some, and you have social media channels, and after the event you're on your social media channels, and this is not specifically Robot Heart, I'm thinking of somebody else here, going, another wonderful year with our community, and you all make it so special and these golden moments we've shared together. And if you scroll back to before the event, there's nothing on their social media feed saying, if you've never been to Burning Man before, this is what you should know. And my opinion is that is like a tacit admission that should happen. And
Hmm.
to require that to happen would be like a tacit admission that we now live in this uneasy alliance era where, if we're all fucking honest and we think about this is for some people the attraction. And this is what brings them here. And
Hmm.
whether you announce your DJ lineups or not is borderline irrelevant at this point. Yes, it's cool for Robot Heart to put out an announcement that's kind of like
Hmm.
just show up and
Yeah. So, like what you're saying,
but
like,
the reality is
mhm.
everybody's coming with the expectation that when you head out to there, chances are it is going to be somebody who could headline a main stage at Coachella. It is Rufus Del Sol. It is John Summit, who I'd never heard of before, but apparently he's the hot shit. So, the DJ lineups to me at this point are like secondary to the expectation that that is a big part of the experience for some people. And that I don't think is something you can course correct for. The only thing you can really do is make it best practice for them to be equally vocal about Leave No Trace as the
Hmm.
Burning Man organization is. And I think there's
Just
a
reinforce the principles, like
but
all of
like
them. Yeah.
there's a sort of there's a membrane there
Hmm.
that's sort of, oh no, we're not here to tell people what to do. Minimum rules. People want minimum rules. I would love to see whether it's Carl Cox or whomever else
Hmm.
be an advocate for that kind of
It
communication.
doesn't
So
take
it just
much, and
becomes best practice.
that would
So
be
it just
huge.
becomes
Yeah.
it, that's what I would like to see moving forward. Pragmatically is bitching about influencers on Facebook
Hmm.
is performative. It's just it's in group out group
Yeah.
behavior.
Well,
You're
one.
trying to define yourself by what you're not, which is other people. I
Mhm.
think that one of the most pragmatic things people can do if they want to see the event survive is to be more specific with these organizations that you like and give them, get on social media and be like, hey guys, we enjoy what you do as part of my overall experience, but I'm not seeing you acculturate people at all. And it's
Mhm.
not on me to acculturate the people who come to see you. And I
Yeah.
do it anyway because that's what I do. I'm all about
Oh
acculturation.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I
Well,
think, as you know, just as you were saying earlier, like the media is so diverse now, and people have all these different points of entry, and people are coming from TikTok. And if you haven't spent a lot of time on TikTok yourself, bitching about TikTok is like it's like an old man who can't program a VCR complaining about the television. It's like I get that I understand how you feel, but I also understand you're really talking about something you don't understand. I
yeah.
would just like to see an across the board awareness that people are going to, it's equally possible for someone to come both a little underprepared for the experience and a bit scared that they're going to get grilled about the
Oh
principles.
God, yeah.
And we're not making it easy for these people. And while some people would say, well, that's the point, is to not make it easy for these people. I'm a little bit like, yeah, but let's not bathwater baby. Let's
Yeah.
not all of
I
that.
think people need to be like aware of the principles, but they don't. You're not going to be. There's not going to be a quiz, like
Well,
on the
the,
spot.
the,
It's
the
like,
thing
what's
about
number
the
eight? Go. Like,
principles is everybody, well, the interesting thing is that all happened during my years off. So on some level, I'm pre the principles existing.
well,
So
the thing is, it was more of a codification of
it
whatever
is.
what was really happening
And
anyway, right? Like
they're not a
without being written
stick
down.
to, they've become a stick to beat other people with on social media. If your favorite principle is the one you keep in your back pocket to tell people on Reddit to fuck off, then
Yeah.
and they interact with each other in interesting ways and so
Yeah.
on.
Well,
But
I
I think
always tell people that, like I look at the principles as more of like a recipe that converts random strangers into like very close friends, if not
right,
family. It's not the 10 principles written in stone that Larry Harvey brought down the hill, like in 1986. It's more of like, this is a formula to kind of get you to this place, which well, we'll wrap up just one last thing. So what you're talking about, like oh, people have like a bucket list, or they see social
did
media.
we get to any of your questions? No, we did not.
Oh, this is a conversational thing. No worries.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, so for a lot of people, it's a bucket list item, or they see like the spectacle, or they see like the Instagram, or like the models or the influencers and this and that, and then they come to Burning Man, and then they have their own experience.
Right.
So my question for you, basically the last question is like the impact or influence of Burning Man on you is like and what is it about Burning Man that keeps you coming back? And like why keep doing this?
I mean, A, I get to be my favorite person version of myself.
Hmm.
Um, and I say that as a man who may bring a backup megaphone in case the first megaphone breaks, because the idea of being there without a megaphone, I can't. And that's a man who has the megaphone dialed down, so it's really not that much louder than my speaking voice.
That's
It just
also
gives it
another one
a,
of those like lost arts of Burning Man. Like there used to
well,
be
it
a
is a
lot
little
more.
bit. Most of the
Yeah.
people who have megaphones shouldn't, etc., etc. And there's never one of my favorite things to do is in camp sort of spot somebody who's clearly a little bit judgy, all and a nice bit and go, have you ever megaphone? You should. You have it. I quite like if you go to my last video, the thumbnail on YouTube is me and this woman Amelia back to back, and she's born to be a megaphoner, and giving her a megaphone and a voice, or a way of transmitting her voice in a very asymmetric way, which is what I like, was one of my great joys of that year. Um, because some of that is, as you get older, talking to somebody and finding out what they've never done and going, we should absolutely fucking do that right now. My goal is to get you to your goal. Um, but so I get to be my favorite version of myself. I have trapped myself in this feedback loop where I get to make cultural commentary about my favorite place, and be in a sort of comedic cultural conversation with the whole concept of Burning Man. And that's relative to some other people's, it's the same every time. I'm like, it might be the same every time, but it's like, I've made golden handcuffs for myself in that respect, in
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm still running into people who are like, somebody going, oh, I was like a bartender in New York, and before I came here I knew I wanted to go to Burning Man because I'd watched all these videos, and it just, to be the conduit for that is way too much fun. And to be able to use, to stamp my own sense of humor on top of that is a lot of fun. Um, and yeah, like, I will say I haven't done as many regionals as perhaps I might.
Yeah, it's still time.
The Burning Man thing is a huge time suck for me, and my wife puts up with that. So it's very hard for me to go, oh, I'm going to fly to Florida for this thing where
It's
it's
work,
literally
honey.
Burning
Yeah.
Man thing. I am, though, going to Unscrews in a couple of weeks.
I'll see you there. Yeah, yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah.
And Unscrews, for people who don't know, is the Santa Cruz regional. It's on or it has historically been on a county fairground, which, not coming from America, is, it's like, it's one weird thing inside it. It's like nesting Russian dolls of weird, because I didn't grow up with a thing where you might have a janky cement amphitheater for, performances by a Journey cover band. Um, and for some reason, a racetrack, and for some reason, livestock pens. It's a weird combination of things, and on paper would seem like quite an unpromising location to have an offshoot of something that exists in the
Like
wide open
expanse of the
flat
desert.
expanse
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
desert. And in fact, what happens is, if you take people from that and put it anywhere, it's instant Burning Man. It's dehydrated. It's like instant
Concentrated.
coffee. It might not be, oh, these beans have been pooped through a dung beetle and then we've done so. It's not like it's not like you paid $40 for a single thing that, a barista hand massaged into existence. But it has its own flavor and its own thing. But so it is,
Huh.
people plus location equals Burning Man. And I feel like I can't be the only one who's like, almost all my dreams are like, it was Burning Man, but we were in a tower block. It was Burning Man, but we were on a train. It was, there's infinite versions of that. So I'm looking forward to going to Unscrews. I can't remember why I got onto this, but
How many times have you been to Unscrews?
um, Unscrews
Yeah.
a lot. We'll put
This
it
is
like
my
this.
first time, actually. Yeah.
It's really, I love it. It's a really fun vibe. It has, its own events. You're in for people crossing a wooden plank to try and get a rubber dildo as some kind of, this is the inappropriate pirates who have the most unpronounceable name, but that, while a guy, and not me, a guy who's better at, I must say, the inappropriate's megaphone guy, top shelf. Like, if you want to see it done right, he's as good as you're ever going to hear.
Is this
Um,
the Sky Pig Pirates or something?
The inappropriate
Oh no.
pirates.
Okay. A
There's
different one.
whatever it is, Kentucky Derby, which is just people giving
Oh,
people
okay. Yeah, I saw that.
it
Yeah,
has,
yeah.
so it has its own things. Um, it's weird because there are indoor buildings which are, kitted
Huh.
out as, there's a sort of vampire lounge. It's great. I fucking
Really?
love it.
Huh.
We were part of the original family camp, and then eventually I've been going enough that when your kids are like, guess what, kids? I don't think I'm taking you on screws this year, and their response is, woo. And the
Oh,
only
thank
thing about
God.
unscrews that for me is a little cheeky is when I've camped next to people and they're like, their kids are running around and they're all in adorable little onesies with their little rabbit ear onesies or whatever. And then people are like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is like the next generation of burners. It's hard not to lean in and go, maybe.
Let me get my megaphone.
No, 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 more like, no, no, no. It's more like maybe. And maybe at some point they'll turn around and go, no, Dad, I do not want to spend another long weekend with all
Hmm.
your weird, introverted friends cosplaying as extroverts and their stupid, funny names and their stupid, furry hats and all of that. And you're like, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair
All right.
enough.
Well, we've been going on. We've about hit our time limit. But one last thing. Any links or plugs? Like, what should I put in the show notes? You have.
A good place to start is just anywhere I'm on social media. My Instagram is Mr. The word spelled out Mr. underscore Mark underscore day. And that has a mishmash of both me at Burning Man. I've recently started um, reposting Burning Man 2001 in minute long episodes on Facebook and on Instagram. And that's fun for me. So you
hmm
can, and to some extent, I'm doing that as a sort of here, look, here's Burning Man 2001. Here's Burning Man last year. Here's the AI version of Burning Man in my head. Have all of them or none, or just the two. Um, so I'm doing that. The long form videos, 24 hours at Burning Man, are on YouTube. Um, all of them are awesome. I haven't watched, all of them are somewhat the same. All of them have tropes. Um, the one thing I didn't get to, but is kind of fun, is that like I have basically created linguistic memes, by which I mean
Hmm.
I say the same things in my videos every year. Like, have you seen the sky lately? The sky looks magnificent. And then when I'm at Burning Man, people will be like, you're probably sick of people saying this. And I'm like, absolutely not. You say the catchphrase, I will say it back to you. That's absolutely fun. Um, and the only annoying thing is, I would say the character of me at Burning Man, from my perspective, is just gets better. The video, like if I look back at some of them from a few years ago, it feels like a little bit wooden and affected, and perhaps I'm just saying these things because I'm just enjoying the trope, but whatever. Whereas I think I keep getting better at being me at Burning Man from the perspective of whoever's watching me at home. What hubris? Who does this? Who does this? Um, so la 2 years I started. I was, I'm always looking for a reason to make the videos somewhat different. I know I basically have to get this out.
Yeah.
The
All right.
year I the year I documented the temple, which was 2016, um, I think it's okay to say was a challenging experience for many of the people involved, and was the last year that Burning Man did not have a year-to-year core temple crew who carried the institutional knowledge in a formalized, codified way so that different artists could come in and invite people into the space, knowing that that infrastructure was there. And prior to that, there was a little bit of an either it was David Best or it was other people reinventing the wheel over and over again. And
Mm-hmm.
without getting into that is one of the challenges that all camps experience, or not all, but like many camps experience, is how do you hold that institutional knowledge together if you have maybe overbuilt your camp to a size that does not reflect your core group of friends or whatever. But anyway, the point is, if you go watch that video, it has what I like to think of as, and I got this from a very pivotal experience in my youth. Oh God, this is going to take forever. A lot of Americans don't know who the comedian Billy Connolly is. He's like our George Carlin. He's not been in a lot of movies. He's not like you could go, oh, he was in 5 Harry Potter movies, so you've kind of seen him. He mostly is known as a stand-up comedian. When I was a kid, I heard an album of his. You can find this on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opening track on it. There's only one existing recording of it. It's him telling the story of the crucifixion of Jesus as if the premise is there's a misprint in the Bible. It didn't take place in Gallagly. It took place in the Gallagate, which is like a very rough working class area of Glasgow. And it blew my mind because he was basically, as a young kid, it's both he's an incredible storyteller, and the minute, to me at least, I can get goosebumps just talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to the recording of it, what I hear, and I can't promise other people will get this, is the electricity in the room when people realize he's about to tell this story. And to me, it's like the sacred and the profane. So that video has me interviewing my 24 hours at Burning Man that year has me interviewing Robbie Dobbs, who I don't know if she still goes to the event, but she was one of the people behind like the porta potty project, where they as burners were going around and checking in on the porta potties and making these slightly obtuse stickers that would explain porta potty etiquette in ways that seem quaint now. So there was a bit of the sacred and the profane in that. And then this is so long. And then at the end of this experience of building the temple, I turned around to this woman, April Jones, and said, April, what happened? And she did a wonderful job of summing it up, and it's at the end of the video. And at that point, I realized I had to up my game and feel like these rambling videos should end on something. Is there some point to it? And I can't pretend there wasn't a part of me that was like, all you're doing is that Bill Hicks thing where Bill Hicks in one of his stand-up special goes, what, what's the point of all of this? And I'm not in any shape or form comparing myself to that. It's like a trope. It's like a trope I remember from an incredible stand-up special. So over time, what that became was various iterations of, and the people that I'm going into San Francisco to see, who I don't see often enough, they were doing a version of the dating game in our camp, people out for a date on Playa and then one person on the other side of a screen, which was always an interesting experience because some of the people who want to participate maybe are not the right people. You have to kind of curate it in a way that like it's awkward, but in a good way and all of that. And I was co-presenting it with them because I love standing in front of people and talking. And this is the thread. And I had another appointment doing something else. So one day I came back in camp and they were doing it without me. which was awesome. I knew they were doing it, but like it was weird to
Mm.
watch them do it and want to be up there, and at the same time, so proud of them for doing it.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they were like, as you would, they were like, see, Mark Day, we didn't need you. And I was able to do in the most perfect way possible for me. You're right. It was inside you all along.
Oh.
And that's the sort of that underpins a lot of those videos as variations on really just variations on that, you
Hmm.
know, if you're lucky, you get to come to Burning Man to find a way to do something that on some level was inside you all along. And that's not necessarily true for some, not people, not everybody's going to be like, oh, the only thing between me and doing that was me being scared that I couldn't. It's not always that, but like that's one of the things I love about the event is to be able
Hmm.
to be that conduit for it was inside of you all along.
Yeah.
Now, I also like my own sense of humor. So the past couple of years, I've been playing around with his idea of proper Burning Man. And I just posted a video which you could see on Instagram where I'm starting to unpack literally and metaphorically what happened last year. And it's me talking about people with a truck and they haven't unpacked the truck yet. And somebody in that group desperately wants something that's stuck in the way in the back of the truck. And they know it's not a priority for anybody else, but they would be a lot happier if we could just somehow make it possible for them to get that thing out that they really need. That's based on a real experience. We were driving to Burning Man in like 2000 and whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we had something in a truck and there were some people who were driving up with us who could we just get our tent? And we were just like, we just can't. We just, right now, it's just, that's not
Not a
possible.
good time.
But we were jokingly, me and my buddy Ali were like, we've captured their flagpole. We've captured the flag. We have something they really want.
Hmm.
And I made that, it's a minute long, this video. It's that. Then there's like, it's me talking about that in relation to someone else's truck.
I
Then
like
there's
that. It's like
20
real
seconds
life.
of
Yeah.
20 seconds of me doing a ridiculous AI heavy metal version of what proper Burning Man is, and the end of the or just the idea of proper Burning Man, and then the end is me from about 4 years earlier saying the thing that I've now turned into a ridiculous video that they just that what I say is the feel of the it started as the feel of the heat on your face standing next to something on fire is proper Burning Man. That's a thing that is when you feel that, particularly today in this
Hmm.
era of everything's LEDs and for we, you know, we're a lot more safety conscious around art burns, and
Hmm.
art burns are a degree of complexity for some camps where it's just easier to take the thing home and all of that. But the last video and where I'm playing around with this is just the idea of proper Burning Man, but I'm not the arbiter of what that is. I'm just a guy cycling around going, see that? That's proper Burning
There
Man.
you go.
But if you
Yeah.
make it to the end of the video, which a lot of people don't, it's me basically going, you'll know proper Burning Man when you see it. And it's not the preserve of middle-aged white guys to tell you what that is. And I know I'm saying that as a middle-aged white guy. I try in an incredibly clumsy way at the end of my last video to talk more directly about consent and white privilege, which I have a personal experience of.
Hmm.
I'm in a multiracial family, so my ability, you know, if you're standing in Target and you're trying to pick a gift for a kid for a birthday party, and there's a bunch of and your toy selection is restricted to or your movie selection is restricted to your kid only ever sees themselves as side characters or whatever. If anybody's listening to this and feels they want to push back on white privilege, I am talking from personal experience.
Hmm.
If you don't like the idea of it, all good. I have a lot of personal opinions that some people would say are very non-woke, but like it took me years to be comfortable talking about those things on camera, and and the consent thing is still something that I felt like I'm not the best person to talk about it, and it took me a long right time to get to that. Doesn't matter. You have
It's important.
somebody
Yeah,
that
yeah.
one of the greatest gifts I got at Burning Man was, and sorry, I'm now extrapolating as to what
Yeah,
these
I
videos are
think we
about.
kind of need to wrap it up, but yeah,
It
yeah.
is, but like what I was going to say is like I had some interesting opinions about consent education at Burning Man.
uh,
One of them is that it's too sex positive, right?
yeah, there's more to consent than just sex. Yeah, yeah.
And I think the challenge is it's often delivered by people who are invested in sex positivity. And I'm not saying it's an intentional oversight. I think, I'm just spitballing from just my small sample set of looking at this and going, and this comes back to the TikTok thing. All of these things are the same thing in my
Mm-hmm.
head, is meeting people where they are.
Yes.
So sometimes neurodiverse middle-aged men who have had 10 years of making the same talk like a pirate joke about a severe spanking in camp and are basically unaware that a lot of the women in camp are sick of this fucking joke by now, but we're just excusing it all as let's just put it on me. That's just Mark being Mark. I think, there's an aspect to understanding that not everybody needs or wants their first experience at Burning Man to be overly sexualized. So I am one of the people who actually think, sorry, people who signed up for greeters feeling like, oh, we used to get to spank people. I'm like, it took me a long time to talk to a consent educator about sexual trauma and how triggering that could be for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding it took me a long time. It's not for me to judge that a TikTok influencer at some point may actually move towards. It's a complicated dance. All being in the media space is a complicated
Oh,
dance.
of course.
So my thing is, I'm not the arbiter of proper Burning Man, but I'm making it a meme so that when people's tents get blown over and they run into me, go, "Oh, we had proper Burning Man last night." But I also would love to see space for diverse voices and it not,
Yes.
because it becomes so codified, I would, I think there are other voices who have been unrepresented. So if it makes people uncomfortable going, oh, Burning Man went woke, and perhaps at a time when society was pushing back in another direction, I think we as a community still have our own rebalancing of who gets to be a voice in the
Oh,
space.
yeah. Yeah.
So there you go. So here we are, two middle-aged white guys. I'm making assumptions about your ethnic
Yeah.
makeup.
Well, I think
Um,
we could go on and on. I mean, that would be a
we
whole
could be here
nother
forever. I
hour.
should get out the house.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Yeah. Well, thank you for the
good
interview.
luck
This is
editing
wonderful.
this. And
Oh,
if we
yeah.
need to do
The
it
secret to
all,
my show is I don't do any editing at all.
right.
It's
Well,
just a
if we're
conversation.
over time, split it into two, or if we need to do it,
There is no time.
there is no time.
John
All right.
Law was about 2 hours.
Right. Okay. I hope that all made sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Cheers. My favorite thing, talking about me at Burning Man. I don't get enough of this.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Cheers. Dog says bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this show, please subscribe, rate, and review it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. The more reviews the show has, the more likely it will even appear in search results. Also, please tell a friend and share this show with anyone that you think might like it. Word of mouth reaches quite far, especially in the Burning Man community. If you would like to contact us, please send an email to shadowofthemanpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow Shadow of the Man on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, X, and YouTube. The links for all of these are available at shadowoftheman.com. Feel free to use any of these social media accounts to provide any feedback you might have. Your thoughts on the show are greatly appreciated. Thank you, and see you soon for a new episode of The Shadow of the Man.
Thank you for listening to this latest show. We have to make another one, so gotta go. Don't worry, for next month we already have one in the can. Very soon you'll be listening to a new Shadow of the Man.